I'm grateful you joined tonight. Your body is healing itself right now, repairing damage, clearing toxins, rebuilding connections while you simply exist. Tonight, you'll discover why some family gatherings feel like walking into a storm. And by the end, you'll understand why your body's response isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Welcome to Sleepy Mind Science. Wherever you are right now, perhaps feeling that familiar tightness in your chest when you think about upcoming holidays, or simply noticing how your shoulders dropped the moment you decided to stay home tonight. Allow yourself this moment of peace. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about family dynamics and nervous system wisdom. From the Sunday morning dread that starts on Friday, to the exhaustion that lasts for days after gatherings, to the quiet voice that whispers, "Not this time." This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A gentle subscribe, like, or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more seekers to discover and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary. One sleepy soul at a time. Your journey inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're resting where memories settle safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with quiet understanding. And now we begin. Your body knows a family gathering is approaching before your mind consciously acknowledges it. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health, published in 2024, reveals that our autonomic nervous system begins shifting into a preparatory state up to 72 hours before anticipated social stressors. Your heart rate variability changes subtly. Your sleep becomes lighter. Your digestive system may become unsettled. This isn't anxiety in the clinical sense. It's your nervous system, reading environmental cues and preparing resources for what it predicts will be a demanding experience. The body carries a kind of social calendar written not in dates but in physiological patterns. Scientists call this anticipatory allostasis, the way your system adjusts in advance of expected challenges. Your Sunday dread that starts on Thursday evening isn't irrational. It's your body doing exactly what evolution designed it to do. The exhaustion you feel after family gatherings is measurable and real. Research examining physiological responses to family gatherings found that participants who reported feeling emotionally drained showed cortisol patterns similar to those experiencing sustained workplace stress. Their bodies had been working, even while sitting at a dinner table. The effort of managing facial expressions, monitoring conversational dynamics, navigating unspoken tensions, and regulating emotional responses requires tremendous neurological and physiological resources. When you need 2 or 3 days to recover from a 4-hour gathering, you're not being dramatic or weak. Your body genuinely expended significant energy, and now it needs time to restore baseline functioning. This recovery period is as legitimate as recovering from any other demanding physical activity. Some people experience family gatherings as a form of sensory overload that goes beyond simple introversion. Recent research in sensory processing from Johns Hopkins has identified that approximately 20 to 30% of the population has a more sensitive nervous system that processes environmental stimuli more deeply. In family settings, this manifests as heightened awareness of voice tones, facial micro-expressions, shifts in emotional atmosphere, and the accumulated weight of multiple conversations happening simultaneously. For these individuals, a family gathering isn't just socially tiring. It's neurologically overwhelming. Their brains are processing more information, more quickly, and with less filtering than others in the room. By the time others are enjoying dessert, their nervous system may have hit capacity hours ago. This isn't a character flaw or social deficit. It's a difference in how the nervous system is calibrated. The phenomenon of checking the time repeatedly during family events reflects a nervous system survival strategy. When we feel trapped or uncomfortable in any environment, our brain begins tracking time more consciously as a way of maintaining a sense of control and predicting when escape will be possible. Research on time perception and stress, published in Nature Neuroscience in late 2024, found that people in anxious states experience significant time dilation. Minutes feel markedly longer than they do during calm states. This happens because your amygdala is ramping up attention and encoding, trying to capture as much information as possible about the situation it perceives as important. When 15 minutes of family tension feels like an hour, your brain is genuinely experiencing time differently. This temporal distortion is your nervous system's way of maximizing information gathering during situations it deems important for survival. The instinct to sit near exits or in positions where you can see the entire room stems from a deeply wired threat monitoring system. Your amygdala, a small, almond-shaped structure deep in your brain, is constantly scanning your environment for potential challenges. Even when you're consciously aware that no physical harm exists. For people with certain family histories, this scanning becomes heightened in family spaces. A 2025 study from the Max Planck Institute found that adults who experienced unpredictable emotional environments in childhood show increased amygdala activation when in family settings. Even decades later, they unconsciously position themselves in ways that allow maximum visual monitoring and easiest exit access. This behavior often happens without conscious thought. You just prefer that chair, that corner of the couch, that spot at the table. Your body has learned that certain positions offer psychological and physiological advantages, and it guides you there automatically. The practice of rehearsing excuses for leaving early or declining invitations is a form of cognitive preparation that actually reduces stress. Psychologists at Stanford found that people who mentally script potential exit strategies before entering anxiety-producing situations showed 20 to 30% lower cortisol reactivity than those who don't. Your brain benefits from having a plan, even if you never use it. When you spend time in your car before going in, reviewing the reasons you could leave if needed, you're not being avoidant. You're providing your nervous system with a sense of agency and control that allows it to engage more calmly. The script becomes a psychological safety net. Knowing you have permission to leave, even if you stay, fundamentally changes your physiological experience of being there. This is adaptive coping, not dysfunction. The physical sensation of your chest tightening or your throat constricting during certain family interactions has a specific neurological basis. The vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem down through your chest and into your abdomen, is responsible for regulating your sense of comfort and connection. When this nerve detects cues of threat or discomfort, including emotional discomfort, it can trigger what's called a dorsal vagal response, which includes feelings of shutting down, throat tightness, and a sense of heaviness or immobility. Research, published in early 2025, examining polyvagal responses in family systems, found that adults with histories of criticism, dismissal, or emotional unpredictability show this dorsal response more readily in family contexts. Your tight chest isn't anxiety you're creating. It's your oldest nervous system pathway responding to patterns it learned long ago. This sensation is information, and your body is communicating something it once learned mattered deeply. The way you breathe changes in the presence of certain family members, often without your awareness. A fascinating study from the Respiratory Neuroscience Lab measured breathing patterns during family interactions and found that people unconsciously alter their breath rate and depth based on who is in the room. With family members associated with criticism or conflict, breathing becomes more shallow and rapid, a subtle preparation for action. With family members associated with comfort and acceptance, breathing naturally deepens and slows. Your body is responding to relational cues that your conscious mind may not even register. This explains why you might feel physically uncomfortable around someone who is being perfectly pleasant in the moment. Your body isn't reacting to their current behavior. It's responding to a pattern it has learned to anticipate based on history. The phenomenon of feeling like a different, younger version of yourself when with family, sometimes called age regression, has a neurological foundation. Brain imaging studies show that being in childhood environments or with childhood attachment figures can actually reactivate neural patterns from earlier developmental periods. The Yale Stress Center found that adults in the presence of parents or siblings sometimes show patterns of brain activation more similar to adolescent or even childhood functioning than their typical adult patterns. This isn't immaturity or failure to grow up. It's your brain responding to environmental cues that say, this is the context in which these older neural pathways were formed. And those pathways temporarily become more active. You're not reverting. You're accessing a version of your nervous system that learned to function in this specific relational ecosystem. So yes, your body's responses to family gatherings, the exhaustion, the hypervigilance, the need for distance, are already showing us that something important is happening beneath the surface. These aren't character flaws or signs of antisocial tendency. They're communications from a nervous system that has learned, through direct experience, what it needs to protect itself. Your body is not wrong. It is reading information you may not consciously remember, and it is responding with the wisdom of accumulated experience. These patterns we notice in daily life all point toward a deeper truth. Your nervous system is always working to keep you well, and sometimes wellness means distance. The emotional exhaustion from holding your tongue during family conversations isn't just psychological. It has a measurable metabolic cost. Neuroscience research from 2024 shows that active emotional suppression requires significant prefrontal cortex activation, which consumes glucose and oxygen at elevated rates. When you spend hours monitoring what you say, filtering your reactions, and maintaining a neutral expression while feeling something entirely different internally, your brain is working harder than if you were solving complex problems. Studies on cognitive self-control found that sustained emotional regulation depletes mental resources measurably. This is why you might feel mentally foggy or physically depleted after gatherings where you didn't even do anything. Your brain was doing enormous invisible work. And that work has a physical cost. Certain family conversations can trigger a physiological state called neuroception of threat, even when no logical harm exists. Dr. Stephen Porges, who developed polyvagal theory, explains that our nervous system is constantly evaluating comfort through channels outside conscious awareness. Your body might respond to a family member's tone of voice, pace of speech, or facial expression with a discomfort signal, even if their words are neutral. This happens in milliseconds, before conscious thought. Research from 2025 found that adults who grew up with unpredictable emotional environments have more sensitive neuroception. Their systems are calibrated to detect subtle threat cues that others might miss entirely. When your heart starts racing during a seemingly normal conversation about holiday plans, your body isn't overreacting. It's picking up signals in voice prosody, facial micro-expressions, or conversational rhythm that your conscious mind hasn't yet processed. The relief you feel when a family event is cancelled is a profound message from your nervous system. That feeling, when your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, and you notice a lightness spreading through your chest, is your body moving out of a defensive state and into a state of ease. Recent research on anticipatory stress found that the cancellation relief response can be as strong as the stress response itself, indicating just how much energy your system was allocating to preparation and protection. This relief isn't laziness or antisocial behavior. It's evidence that your body was genuinely preparing for something it experienced as challenging. And the removal of that challenge allows it to redirect those resources toward rest, digestion, creativity, and repair. Your relief is information. It tells you something true about how your system experiences that particular environment. The practice of taking mental health days after family gatherings has a biological rationale. Your immune system, which is intimately connected to your stress response system, becomes temporarily suppressed during prolonged social stress. Research on stress and immunity has found that people often experience increased vulnerability to illness in the days following emotionally demanding events. With measurable changes in immune cell activity and inflammatory markers, your body literally needs recovery time. The day you spend alone, quiet, doing very little after a big gathering isn't wasted time or isolation. It's your system returning to baseline, processing the experience, and restoring the resources that were depleted. This recovery period is as important as the event itself, and perhaps more important for your long-term health. The ability to predict exactly when a difficult conversation will arise during a family gathering reflects your brain's pattern recognition abilities working at an extraordinary level. You know, often with surprising accuracy, when certain topics will surface, when specific conflicts will emerge, and when the emotional temperature will shift. This isn't pessimism. It's your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex working together to recognize patterns based on years of data. Neuroscience research on social prediction shows that our brains are constantly running probabilistic models of social interactions. And with familiar groups, these predictions become highly accurate. When you think here it comes 30 seconds before it happens, you're experiencing sophisticated neural pattern matching. Your predictions are usually right because they're based on real, observed patterns. This predictive ability is actually a cognitive strength, even though it may feel like a burden. The feeling of being watched or evaluated during family gatherings has a basis in our mirror neuron system. These neurons, discovered in the early 1990s, but more deeply understood through recent research, fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing that action. In family settings where judgment has historically been present, your mirror neuron system can become hyperactive, creating a sensation that every move, expression, and word is being tracked and evaluated by others. A 2024 study from UCLA found that people with histories of critical family environments show more mirror neuron activation in family contexts, meaning they're more acutely aware of others' attention and responses. This heightened social awareness is exhausting. Your brain is not only managing your own behavior, but also constantly modeling what others are thinking and feeling about your behavior. It's like running two complex programs simultaneously. The phenomenon of small talk paralysis, feeling frozen when asked simple questions like, "How are you?" or "What's new?" is related to your brain's threat detection system. When your nervous system is activated, your prefrontal cortex, which handles language production and social nuance, receives fewer resources. Blood flow and glucose are diverted toward survival-oriented brain regions. This means that in moments of stress, your ability to engage in casual conversation is literally impaired. Research on stress and language processing shows that people in heightened nervous system states show measurably slower verbal processing and reduced access to vocabulary. When you can't think of what to say at a family gathering, even though you could easily chat with friends in other contexts, it's not because you're awkward or antisocial. Your brain is prioritizing threat monitoring over social performance. And this is an adaptive, protective response. The need to create physical distance during family events, stepping outside, going to another room, volunteering to do dishes alone, is your nervous system's attempt to regulate itself through what researchers call spatial buffering. Studies in environmental psychology show that even brief periods of solitude can significantly reduce cortisol levels and heart rate when people are in stressful social situations. Your instinct to excuse yourself isn't rude. It's intelligent self-regulation. Your system recognizes its approaching overload and creates the conditions for recovery before reaching a breaking point. People who allow themselves these brief exits actually cope better overall than those who force themselves to stay engaged continuously. These micro breaks of solitude are like pressure release valves that prevent larger system failures. The way your sleep changes in the days before and after family gatherings reflects your system's deep processing of the social stress. Sleep research from Stanford's Center for Sleep Sciences found that people show increased REM sleep density in the nights following emotionally charged social experiences, suggesting the brain is working overtime to process and integrate the experience. Before events, many people experience lighter sleep with more frequent wakings, a pattern seen when the brain is in a state of anticipation and preparation. Your sleep disruption isn't insomnia in the traditional sense. It's your brain and body engaging in complex preparation and integration work. The dreams you have in these periods are often your mind's attempt to work through social dynamics and emotional material that was activated during waking hours. The guilt you feel about wanting to skip family events has its own physiological signature. Research on moral emotions shows that guilt activates specific brain regions, including the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, creating a distinctive feeling of discomfort and distress. For many people, this guilt response was learned, conditioned through years of messages that family obligation supersedes personal well-being. The conflict between your body's need for distance and your internalized belief that you should attend creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, which itself produces measurable stress. You're caught between two incompatible truths. I need to protect my well-being, and good people don't avoid family. This internal conflict can sometimes be more stressful than the gathering itself. Your guilt is evidence of your values and your conditioning, and it deserves compassion rather than judgment. The experience of feeling invisible or unheard in family gatherings, even when you're speaking, is often connected to childhood attachment patterns. Recent research on family communication patterns found that adults who felt dismissed or overlooked in childhood show a distinctive pattern of disengagement in family settings. They speak less, make less eye contact, and position themselves more peripherally in group spaces. Their nervous system learned early that full participation didn't lead to attunement or response, so it conserved energy by reducing participation. This isn't shyness or disinterest. It's your system being efficient with resources based on learned probabilities. If your attempts at connection were historically met with dismissal or redirection, your brain rationally calculates that lower investment in those attempts is the adaptive choice. The physical symptoms some people experience before family events: headaches, stomach upset, muscle tension, are not psychosomatic in a dismissive sense. They are psychophysiological, meaning real physical manifestations of nervous system activation. The gut-brain axis, which researchers now understand is bidirectional and profound, means that emotional stress genuinely impacts digestive function. Studies published in 2025 in the journal Psychosomatic Medicine found that anticipatory social stress increases intestinal permeability and alters gut motility in measurable ways. Your stomachache before Sunday dinner is not imagined. Your nervous system is communicating through your body, using the most primal language available to it: physical sensation. These symptoms deserve medical attention when severe, but they also deserve recognition as meaningful communications from your deepest self. The tendency to arrive late to family gatherings, even when you've planned to be on time, often reflects an unconscious resistance your body is expressing. Research on behavioral procrastination in anxiety-producing situations shows that people commonly delay the start of stressful experiences as a way of reducing total exposure time. Your lateness isn't disrespect or poor time management. It's your system trying to minimize the duration of a challenging experience. You may find yourself suddenly needing to do small tasks, or traffic seems worse than expected, or you can't find your keys. These delays are often your nervous system creating buffer time, giving you a few more minutes of relative calm before entering the demanding environment. Understanding this pattern with compassion, rather than self-criticism, allows you to work with your system rather than against it. The relief of having a legitimate excuse to leave early or skip an event reveals something important about agency and choice. Psychological research on perceived control shows that having a socially acceptable out, work obligations, illness, prior commitments, significantly reduces anticipatory stress. When you have to attend something with no escape option, your stress response is markedly higher than when you feel you have choice in the matter. This isn't about wanting to avoid family. It's about your nervous system needing to know it has options. The difference between "I'm trapped here" and "I'm choosing to be here and could leave if I needed to" is enormous in terms of physiological impact. Your relief at having an excuse isn't evidence of not caring about family. It's evidence of needing a sense of control over your own experience. These patterns we've explored: the exhaustion, the hypervigilance, the physical symptoms, the need for escape routes and recovery time, are not random quirks or personal failings. They form a coherent picture of a nervous system that has learned, through direct experience, that family gatherings require significant resources and careful management. Your body is not wrong for responding this way. It is reading your unique history and responding with wisdom accumulated over years. These observable patterns in your daily life are doorways into understanding something deeper about how your nervous system learned to protect you, and why distance sometimes feels like the most honest choice you can make. You are not broken. You are adapted to your specific history. And now we move deeper into understanding what created these adaptations. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence, heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing. Now we continue. When you walk into a family gathering, your amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, scans the environment in about 30 milliseconds. Recent brain imaging research from MIT shows that this scan happens before conscious awareness. Before you've even finished greeting anyone, your amygdala is asking, "Who's here? What's their emotional state? What happened last time we were in this configuration?" It's pulling up historical data, running pattern matches, and setting your nervous system's baseline state for the interaction. If past gatherings have included conflict, criticism, or emotional intensity, your amygdala tags this environment as potentially challenging and begins allocating resources accordingly. This happens automatically, involuntarily, and faster than thought. You might feel off the moment you walk in the door, before anyone has said or done anything problematic. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition operating at the speed of neural transmission. Your vagal tone, the activity level of your vagus nerve, predicts how you'll cope with family social stress. The vagus nerve is like a brake pedal for your stress response, and people with higher vagal tone can recover from stress more quickly and remain calmer in challenging situations. Research published in 2024 found that vagal tone is partly genetic, but also significantly shaped by early life experiences. If you grew up in an environment with consistent comfort and co-regulation, your vagal tone tends to be higher. If you grew up with unpredictability or frequent stress, your vagal tone may be lower, meaning your brake pedal is less effective. This explains why some people seem to breeze through family gatherings, while others find them overwhelming. It's not about strength or maturity. It's about the biological infrastructure your nervous system developed, often before you had any conscious memory or choice in the matter. The phenomenon of feeling interrogated during normal family questions reflects a nervous system state called hypervigilance. When your amygdala is activated, it interprets neutral inquiries through a lens of evaluation. Questions like, "How's work?" or "Are you seeing anyone?" are processed by your threat detection system as requests to prove your worth or defend your choices, even when the asker may simply be curious. Recent research on social threat perception found that people in hypervigilant states show increased activation in brain regions associated with self-defense when hearing questions that others would experience as friendly interest. Your perception isn't oversensitivity. It's your nervous system applying learned patterns where questions have historically preceded judgment or criticism. The question itself hasn't changed. but your nervous system's interpretation of its meaning has. The exhaustion you feel isn't laziness. It's the metabolic cost of emotion regulation. Studies using fMRI and metabolic tracking found that suppressing emotional responses while maintaining social appropriateness requires sustained activation of the prefrontal cortex, which consumes significant glucose and oxygen. When you smile while feeling frustrated, agree while feeling angry, or stay quiet while feeling hurt, you're engaging in emotional labor that has a real energetic price. Research from the University of Texas found that 3 hours of active emotion regulation can deplete cognitive resources as much as 6 hours of focused intellectual work. Your need to lie down after family events isn't weakness. It's your body saying, "I just worked very hard, and now I need to restore resources." This exhaustion deserves respect, not shame. Your tendency to shut down or become quiet during family stress is often a dorsal vagal response, a primitive nervous system strategy that evolved to conserve energy during overwhelming threat, unlike fight or flight, which mobilizes action. The dorsal vagal response immobilizes you. You might feel heavy, fog, disconnected, or like you're watching the scene from outside yourself. Research on polyvagal responses in family systems found this immobilization response is common in adults who experienced chronic stress or powerlessness in childhood. Your system learned that active resistance was futile or difficult, so it defaulted to conservation mode. When you zone out during family dinner, you're not being rude or checked out by choice. Your most ancient survival system has activated, reducing your energy expenditure until the challenge passes. This response happens automatically, beneath conscious control. The way you position your body in family spaces, crossed arms, legs pulled up, body angled away, is your nervous system creating physical boundaries when psychological ones feel unavailable. Research in nonverbal behavior and stress responses shows that people unconsciously adopt protective postures in environments they perceive as uncomfortable or boundary violating. These postures literally reduce the surface area of your body that's open to others and create a subtle physical barrier. Your body is attempting to maintain a sense of comfort and personal space when the social context doesn't provide clear interpersonal boundaries. This isn't antisocial body language. It's intelligent self-protection. Your body is negotiating for space that the relationship dynamics aren't explicitly offering. The mental replay of difficult conversations that happens after family gatherings is your brain's attempt to process and integrate challenging social experiences. During REM sleep and quiet waking moments, your hippocampus and prefrontal cortex work together to make sense of what happened, file memories appropriately, and update predictions about future interactions. Recent research shows that people replay stressful social interactions up to 10 times more frequently than positive ones, because your brain is trying to learn from threat experiences to prevent future harm. When you lie awake at night reviewing what was said and what you wish you'd said, you're not ruminating pointlessly. Your brain is doing crucial post-event processing, trying to extract learning and prepare better responses. This review process, while uncomfortable, serves a protective function. The difference between how you feel with family versus with chosen friends reveals something important about your nervous system's state of comfort. Research on social baseline theory shows that our nervous system's baseline stress level is significantly influenced by who we're with. Some relationships lower our baseline stress, allowing our body to allocate resources toward growth, connection, and rest. Other relationships raise our baseline stress, requiring us to maintain higher vigilance and defensive readiness. When you feel more relaxed, authentic, and energized with friends than with family, it's not because you love your family less. It's because your nervous system has learned, through repeated experience, which environments allow it to truly rest and which require it to maintain protective activation. Your body is telling you the truth about relational comfort. The physical sensation of your throat closing or your voice becoming smaller in family contexts is related to vagal regulation of your vocal cords. The ventral vagus nerve, which is involved in comfortable social engagement, innervates the muscles of your face, throat, and middle ear. When this system is activated, your voice has natural prosody, warmth, and expressiveness. When your nervous system shifts into a defensive state, the ventral vagus deactivates, and your voice loses its natural musicality and strength. Research from 2025 on vocal prosody and nervous system states found that people can accurately identify threat states in others simply by listening to voice recordings. When your voice becomes quiet, flat, or constricted around family, it's not because you're withholding or being difficult. Your nervous system is in a state that literally changes the neuromuscular control of your vocal apparatus. Your voice is reflecting your internal state of ease, your tendency to over-prepare what you'll say before family events, rehearsing topics, anticipating questions, planning responses. Is your brain trying to reduce unpredictability? Neuroscience research on uncertainty and stress shows that unpredictable stressors produce significantly more anxiety than predictable ones. When you mentally rehearse conversations, you're attempting to make the social experience more predictable and controllable, which reduces your amygdala activation. This preparation isn't neurotic overthinking. It's an adaptive coping strategy that genuinely reduces your stress response during the actual event. People who engage in this kind of cognitive preparation show lower cortisol reactivity when the predicted situations actually occur. Your preparation is your brain's way of creating a sense of comfort through prediction and planning. The relief you feel when interacting with just one family member versus the whole group reflects the different demands of dyadic versus group social cognition. Research on social brain networks shows that navigating group dynamics requires significantly more cognitive resources than one-on-one interaction. In groups, your brain must track multiple relationships simultaneously, monitor shifting alliances and tensions, and predict how each person might respond to what you say. This complex social calculation becomes exponentially more demanding as group size increases. When you prefer individual conversations with family members over large gatherings, you're not being antisocial. You're recognizing that your nervous system can engage more authentically and with less resource depletion in simpler social configurations. This is wise adaptation, not dysfunction. The tendency to feel more anxious about family events as they approach, rather than less, is related to how your amygdala processes temporal proximity to challenges. Brain imaging studies show that as a stressful event gets closer in time, amygdala activation increases, even if the actual threat level hasn't changed. This is why you might feel fine about a family gathering that's a month away but increasingly anxious as it approaches. Even though nothing about the event has changed, your brain is responding to the decreasing temporal distance, not to new information about the event itself. This escalating anxiety isn't irrational. It's your threat detection system doing exactly what it evolved to do. Increasing alertness as you move closer to a situation it has coded as requiring vigilance. The way certain family members' voices or laughs can trigger instant tension in your body is an example of classical conditioning. Your nervous system has paired certain sounds with past experiences of discomfort or tension. Now, even in benign contexts, the sound alone triggers a protective response. Research on auditory triggers and the amygdala shows these conditioned responses activate in milliseconds, before conscious processing. When Uncle John's laugh makes your stomach tighten, even though he's laughing at something completely innocuous, your body isn't overreacting. It's responding to learned patterns between that sound and past experiences of unease or discord. This conditioning operates at a level below conscious control and reflects accurate pattern learning by your nervous system. The phenomenon of time seeming to move slower during uncomfortable family moments is a real perceptual shift related to your nervous system state. When you're in a state of discomfort, your brain processes more details per unit of time, which creates the subjective experience of time slowing down. This happens because your amygdala is ramping up attention and encoding, trying to capture as much information as possible about the situation. Research on time perception and stress found that people in anxious states experience time dilation. Minutes feel significantly longer, when 15 minutes of family tension feels like an hour. Your brain is genuinely experiencing time differently. This temporal distortion is your nervous system's way of maximizing information gathering during situations it perceives as important for survival. All of these bodily responses, the amygdala activation, the vagal shifts, the muscle tension, the changed breathing, the time distortion, the voice constriction, are not signs of weakness or failure. They are signs of a nervous system that is working exactly as it was designed to work, responding to cues of discomfort with a coordinated, whole-body defensive strategy. Your body is doing its job. The question isn't, why am I reacting this way? The question is, what did my nervous system learn that makes this response adaptive? And that question leads us deeper into the history that shaped these responses, into understanding not just what your body is doing, but why it learned to do it. You're still here, thoughts still flickering like candlelight. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together. The patterns your nervous system follows didn't begin with you. Research on intergenerational trauma transmission has revealed that stress responses can be passed from one generation to the next through multiple mechanisms, including epigenetic changes, parenting behaviors, and even prenatal hormone exposure. Studies from 2024 examining descendants of trauma survivors found measurable differences in stress hormone regulation. Even in individuals who never directly experienced the original trauma, your grandmother's unprocessed fear, your father's learned vigilance, your mother's survival strategies. These can all influence how your own nervous system developed. You may be carrying protective responses that were adaptive for previous generations, even if they don't fully fit your current circumstances. This inheritance is biological, not just psychological. Children are extraordinarily perceptive to emotional atmospheres. even when adults believe they're hiding their distress. Developmental neuroscience research shows that infants as young as 6 months old show stress responses when their caregivers are stressed, even if the caregiver's face remains neutral. Your nervous system was learning about comfort during years you cannot consciously remember, reading subtle cues in voice tone, facial expression, body tension, and household emotional climate. These early learnings created templates, expectations about how relationships work, how reliable the world is, what behaviors keep you secure. Your current responses to family gatherings may be rooted in patterns your nervous system learned before you could speak. When your survival genuinely depended on reading and responding to the adults around you. The concept of family roles, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the scapegoat, the invisible one, has neurological underpinnings. Family systems theory, now supported by neuroscience research, shows that children develop specific behavioral and emotional patterns based on what the family system seems to need or reward. If being helpful reduced tension in your home, your brain learned to prioritize others' needs and suppress your own. If being quiet kept you comfortable, your nervous system learned to minimize your presence. These roles become neurologically embedded through repeated activation of specific neural pathways. Research from 2025 found that adults can still feel pulled into childhood roles when with family, because the environmental cues activate those old, well-worn neural patterns. Your role wasn't chosen consciously. It emerged as an adaptive response to your specific family ecosystem. Unpredictability in childhood creates lasting changes in how your nervous system responds to uncertainty. Studies on developmental stress exposure found that children who grew up in unpredictable environments, where they couldn't reliably predict whether mom would be warm or cold, whether dad would be present or absent, whether dinner would be calm or tense, develop heightened threat sensitivity that persists into adulthood. Their nervous systems become calibrated to expect the unexpected and to maintain higher baseline vigilance. If your family gatherings feel more stressful than others find them, it may be because your nervous system learned early that even seemingly calm moments could shift quickly. This heightened alertness is exhausting, but it was once protective. Your body is still trying to protect you from uncertainties it learned to anticipate long ago. The dismissal or minimization of your feelings during childhood can create what researchers call emotional invalidation, which has lasting neurobiological effects. When children's emotions are consistently dismissed, ignored, or punished, they learn to disconnect from their own internal experience. Brain imaging studies show that adults with histories of emotional invalidation show reduced insular activation, the insula being a brain region crucial for interoception, or awareness of your own bodily and emotional states. This means you may have difficulty knowing what you feel or need, making it hard to set appropriate boundaries or recognize when you're overwhelmed. The confusion you might feel about whether your discomfort at family events is valid may stem from years of learning that your internal experience wasn't trustworthy or important. Your body remembers what your mind was taught to dismiss. Criticism during development, even subtle or well-intentioned criticism, can shape your nervous system's sensitivity to evaluation. Research on criticism and the developing brain found that repeated experiences of criticism increase sensitivity in brain regions involved in self-evaluation and social threat detection. This means that as an adult, you may perceive judgment or criticism in situations where others don't. not because you're paranoid, but because your brain learned to be highly attuned to any signals that might predict criticism. This hypervigilance to evaluative cues is exhausting and can make family gatherings, where evaluation often exists implicitly or explicitly, feel like navigating a field of potential challenges. Your sensitivity isn't oversensitivity. It's accurate sensitivity to cues that your history taught you were important to detect. The need to be perfect or to avoid making mistakes in family contexts often stems from conditional attachment experiences. Attachment research shows that when a child's acceptance feels contingent on their performance or behavior, they develop what's called anxious or insecure attachment. Their nervous system learns that connection is fragile and must be earned through being good enough. Brain studies of attachment patterns found that insecurely attached adults show heightened activation in error-monitoring brain regions during social interactions, meaning they're constantly scanning their own behavior for potential mistakes. This internal surveillance is exhausting. When you feel like you can't relax at family gatherings because you're too busy monitoring your own performance, you're experiencing the legacy of conditional comfort. Your nervous system is still trying to earn the unconditional acceptance it needed early on. Conflict avoidance or people-pleasing behaviors are often adaptive strategies that develop in response to environments where direct expression of needs led to negative consequences. Children who learned that saying no or expressing anger resulted in withdrawal of love, punishment, or escalated conflict become adults whose nervous systems prioritize harmony over honesty. Recent research on conflict and the nervous system found that for people with this history, even the thought of disagreeing activates their threat response system. Your tendency to agree, accommodate, or stay silent in family contexts isn't weakness or lack of courage. It's a protective strategy your nervous system developed when you were young and genuinely didn't have the power or resources to handle relational rupture. That strategy may have been necessary once. The question now is whether it still serves you. The distance you maintain from family may be what therapists call a necessary boundary rather than avoidance. Research on family systems and mental health found that adults who maintain physical or emotional distance from families of origin often have better mental health outcomes than those who stay highly enmeshed in dysfunctional family dynamics. Distance can be a form of self-preservation, allowing you to develop a sense of self separate from family roles and dynamics. Sometimes loving your family means loving them from a distance that allows you to remain healthy. This isn't failure or betrayal. It's recognizing that proximity isn't always synonymous with health, and that you have the right to organize your life in ways that support your well-being. Your distance may be the wisest choice you've made. Halfway through our journey, the answer is emerging. Your responses to family gatherings aren't random, aren't weakness, aren't character flaws. They are intelligent adaptations to your unique developmental history. Your nervous system learned specific lessons about comfort, connection, and survival within your particular family context, and it carries those lessons forward. What looks like avoidance may be protection. What feels like oversensitivity may be accurate sensitivity. What seems like inability to relax may be reasonable vigilance. You are not broken. You are adapted. And now we move into understanding what this adaptation is protecting, and how to honor both your history and your present needs. Breathe slowly and notice. This moment is uniquely yours. While family patterns repeat across generations, your experience right now, this breath, this choice, is singular. You are both connected to the past and separate from it. Time moves differently for each nervous system. You hold the power to choose your response, and we continue drifting. Your body's wisdom about family often exceeds your mind's understanding. Research on somatic intelligence shows that your body registers comfort through channels that bypass conscious thought. When your stomach tightens at the thought of a family event, even though you can't articulate why, your body is accessing information stored in implicit memory, patterns learned through experience that don't require conscious recall. Trusting this somatic wisdom means recognizing that your body's discomfort is meaningful information, not something to override or dismiss. Your body isn't betraying you with anxiety. It's protecting you with knowledge. The concept of boundaries in family relationships is often misunderstood as rejection, when it's actually a form of honest communication. Psychological research on boundaries shows that people with clear, maintained boundaries actually have healthier relationships than those who have porous or rigid boundaries. A boundary says, "This is where I end and you begin." It's not a wall. It's a doorway that you control. When you say no to a family gathering, limit the duration of your visit, or choose not to discuss certain topics, you're not being difficult. You're communicating clearly about what you need to maintain your own integrity. Your boundaries are evidence of self-knowledge. Social baseline theory suggests that humans evolved to regulate their nervous systems through proximity to comfortable others. Being near people who make us feel secure actually reduces our physiological stress load. But the theory also reveals something important. When family members aren't experienced as comfortable, proximity increases rather than decreases our stress. You're not supposed to feel relaxed around everyone. Your nervous system is supposed to differentiate between comfortable and uncomfortable, and adjust accordingly. Sometimes distance from family isn't avoidance. It's your nervous system accurately identifying that proximity to these particular people raises rather than lowers your stress baseline. Guilt about distancing from family often reflects internalized messages about obligation rather than true values. Research on moral emotions found that guilt can be either adaptive, guiding us toward values-aligned behavior, or maladaptive, punishing us for violating internalized expectations that don't serve us. When you feel guilty about protecting yourself, that guilt may be a voice from outside you. Family messages, cultural expectations, or childhood conditioning, rather than your own authentic values. Learning to distinguish between these two forms of guilt requires asking, am I feeling guilty because I violated my own integrity, or because I violated someone else's expectations? That distinction matters deeply. The nervous system doesn't understand social obligation. It only understands comfortable versus uncomfortable. When your body resists family gatherings, it's not being irrational or antisocial. It's responding to learned patterns about what happens in those environments. Trying to override your body's signals with cognitive reasoning about expectations rarely works, because the nervous system operates faster and more primitively than conscious thought. Recent research on mind-body connection suggests that lasting change comes not from forcing yourself to endure what your body experiences as distressing, but from gradually increasing your sense of comfort and agency within the context. Your body's resistance deserves listening, not dismissal. Recovery time after family events isn't optional or indulgent. Studies on stress recovery show that without adequate recovery time between stressors, your body begins operating in a state of chronic activation, which leads to inflammation, immune suppression, and increased vulnerability to illness. The days you spend quiet and alone after intense family time are medically necessary. They're not weakness. They're your body restoring homeostasis, processing experience, and replenishing depleted resources. Honoring your need for recovery is an act of basic self-care, as essential as sleep or nutrition. Sometimes, the healthiest response to a family system is to step back far enough to maintain your own stability. Family systems theory describes patterns where one person's attempt to change or set boundaries can destabilize the entire system, leading to pressure for that person to return to their previous role. Your family may not support your distance because your distance disrupts the familiar patterns everyone has learned to navigate. This doesn't mean your distance is wrong. It means you're choosing individual health over systemic homeostasis. That choice may be lonely, but it's sometimes necessary. You are allowed to prioritize your own well-being, even when doing so disappoints others. The experience of feeling like two different people, one with family and one in other contexts, reflects the context-dependent nature of self. Neuroscience research shows that different environments activate different neural networks and associated behaviors. You're not being fake or inauthentic when you're different in different contexts. You're responding to environmental cues that activate specific learned patterns. The quieter, more guarded version of yourself that emerges with family isn't the false you. It's the you that adapted to that particular relational ecosystem. As you spend time in different environments, different aspects of your full self naturally emerge. Choosing peace over proximity is a legitimate choice. Not all families are capable of providing the emotional comfort that allows for close, frequent contact. Research on family estrangement found that many people who limit or cut contact with family report improvements in mental health, relationship quality in other areas, and overall life satisfaction. This isn't universal. Maintaining family contact is positive for many people, but for those whose family relationships are significantly distressing or harmful, distance becomes a pathway to health. Your peace matters. It's not selfish to protect it. The narrative you tell yourself about why you avoid family gatherings matters for your mental health. Research on self-compassion found that people who frame their choices with understanding and kindness experience less anxiety and depression than those who frame the same choices with judgment and shame. Instead of "I'm a bad person for not wanting to go," try "My nervous system finds these gatherings overwhelming, and I'm honoring that." The facts are the same, but the relationship to yourself changes. Your self-talk shapes your experience. Speak to yourself with the compassion you'd offer a dear friend. Your children, if you have them, benefit from your boundaries more than from your martyrdom. Parenting research shows that children learn boundary setting by observing their parents model it. When you demonstrate that it's acceptable to prioritize your well-being, to say no, to make choices that protect your peace, you teach your children that they're allowed to do the same. Forcing yourself to endure what harms you doesn't teach sacrifice. It teaches self-abandonment. Your modeling of healthy boundaries is a gift to the next generation, breaking cycles rather than perpetuating them. The loneliness of family estrangement or distance is real and valid, and it can coexist with knowing that distance is the right choice. Human beings have deep needs for belonging and connection. and family is often where we first learn to meet those needs. Grieving the family you needed but didn't have is part of healing. You can simultaneously know that distance is healthy for you and feel profound sadness about that necessity. Both truths can exist together. Your grief doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you're human and you're honest about what you've lost. Creating chosen family, deep friendships and community connections that provide support, acceptance, and belonging can meet needs that family of origin didn't. Research on social support shows that the quality of relationships matters far more than biological relation. People with strong chosen family networks show similar or better mental health outcomes than those with strong biological family networks. Your worthiness of love and belonging isn't determined by your relationship with your family of origin. You can build and deserve connections that feel comfortable, mutual, and life-giving. The questions "what's wrong with me" and "what happened to me" lead to very different understandings. The first question assumes personal deficiency. The second question assumes adaptation to circumstances. Trauma-informed approaches emphasize this shift. Your responses make sense, given your history. You're not fundamentally flawed. You're responding to your experiences in ways that once helped you survive. This reframe isn't about blame or excusing anyone's behavior. It's about understanding yourself with accuracy and compassion. Recognizing that you developed the strategies you had available at the time. We now understand that nervous systems shaped by stress are different, not deficient. Research on stress physiology shows measurable differences in how stress-sensitized nervous systems respond to challenge. They activate more quickly, more intensely, and take longer to return to baseline. This isn't weakness or mental illness. It's adaptation to environments that required heightened vigilance. Your nervous system learned to be sensitive because sensitivity was once protective. Honoring this sensitivity, rather than trying to eliminate it, allows you to work with your system's nature rather than against it. The practice of loving from a distance is an act of maturity, not coldness. You can hold care and concern for family members while also maintaining the space necessary for your own health. These aren't contradictory positions. Love doesn't require proximity or tolerance of harm. You can wish your family well, hope for their happiness, and still choose not to attend events that deplete you. Your love can be real even when it's boundaried. Distance doesn't equal hate. Sometimes distance equals wisdom. Your worth isn't determined by your ability to maintain relationships that harm you. Cultural messages often suggest that good people prioritize family no matter what. But mental health research tells a different story. People who maintain harmful relationships out of obligation show higher rates of depression, anxiety, and physical health problems. Choosing yourself isn't selfishness. It's basic self-preservation. You deserve relationships that add to your life rather than deplete it. This isn't a failure of character. It's an assertion of your right to well-being. The fear that you'll regret your distance later, that you'll wish you'd attended more gatherings or tried harder, is worth examining. Regret research shows that people more often regret betrayals of their own values and needs than they regret disappointing others. The question isn't, will I regret not going, but will I regret forcing myself to go despite knowing it harms me? Both paths carry potential regret. Choose the path that honors your truth in this moment. You can't live your life in service to hypothetical future regrets. Healing doesn't always look like reconciliation. Sometimes healing looks like acceptance. Accepting that your family is who they are. Accepting that you need distance. Accepting the grief of unmet needs. And accepting your right to choose differently. Research on complex family trauma suggests that recovery often involves relinquishing the hope that your family will change or suddenly understand you. This relinquishing isn't giving up. It's releasing yourself from waiting for something that may never come and building a life that doesn't depend on it. Your nervous system's protectiveness is a form of self-love. When your body resists environments that deplete or harm you, it's demonstrating that some part of you knows you're worth protecting. This protective instinct deserves gratitude rather than frustration. Your nervous system is on your side, even when it feels inconvenient. It's advocating for your needs, trying to keep you well, working tirelessly to maintain your integrity. Thank your body for its vigilance. It's been protecting you all along. The relationship between self-compassion and boundary setting is profound. Studies show that people with higher self-compassion find it easier to set and maintain boundaries because they believe they deserve care and protection. If you struggle with boundaries, cultivating self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a loved one, can make boundary setting feel less like selfishness and more like basic dignity. You don't need to justify your boundaries with sufficient trauma or proof of harm. You need only recognize that you deserve to feel comfortable and honored in your relationships. The paradox of family relationships is that sometimes you must leave the relationship to save your relationship with yourself. When staying connected to family requires disconnecting from your own needs, perceptions, and reality, the cost becomes too high. You cannot maintain relationships with others at the expense of your relationship with yourself and remain healthy. This isn't selfishness. It's a recognition that you are the one person you will be in relationship with for your entire life. That relationship deserves protection. Your body's wisdom about family relationships deserves the same respect you'd give your body's wisdom about physical challenges. If your body recoiled from a hot stove, you wouldn't force your hand onto the burner and call the recoil overreactive. Yet we often do exactly this with emotional or relational discomfort. We force ourselves into situations our body clearly signals are distressing, and then judge ourselves for the stress we feel. Your nervous system is reading real information. Trust it the way you'd trust your hand pulling away from heat. The goal isn't to stop having responses to family stress. The goal is to honor those responses as meaningful communication. Your body will likely always have some reaction to family dynamics that shaped you. Healing doesn't mean those reactions disappear. It means you understand them, work with them skillfully, and make choices that honor both your history and your current needs. You're not trying to reach a point where family gatherings don't affect you. You're trying to reach a point where you trust yourself to navigate them in whatever way serves your well-being. Your nervous system has taught you that distance from family gatherings is sometimes the most honest, healthy choice you can make. This isn't failure. This isn't damage. This is your body being truthful about what it needs to remain stable and whole. You have listened to something deeper than obligation, deeper than guilt, deeper than the expectations that often govern family relationships. You have listened to the quiet, steady voice of your own nervous system, saying, "I need space to be well." That listening is an act of profound wisdom and self-respect. Your body knows what it needs. And now, in these final facts, we move into the peace of that knowing. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Relationships ebb and flow. Closeness and distance. Connection and solitude. Like your breath. Inhale. Exhale. A rhythm that needs no forcing. You are part of that natural movement. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order. We're almost there now. You're not failing your family by choosing distance. You're honoring the truth of what your body needs. Some nervous systems require solitude, quiet, and gentle pacing to remain balanced. This isn't wrong. It's your unique wiring. Families come in many forms, and proximity isn't the only measure of love. The peace you feel when you're alone isn't loneliness. It's your nervous system finally able to rest. Research shows solitude activates different brain networks than social engagement, allowing for restoration and integration. Your need for alone time is biological, necessary, healthy. It's your system's way of recovering. Distance can be the most loving choice when proximity causes harm. Love doesn't require suffering. You can care deeply for family while also acknowledging that close contact depletes you. These truths can coexist. Your love is real even when it lives from far away. The you that emerges in spaces away from family, lighter, freer, more authentic, isn't false. That's also you. Perhaps that's the you that your nervous system protects by maintaining distance. It's okay to create environments where your truest self can breathe and flourish. Guilt may visit, but it doesn't have to govern. When you feel guilty for protecting yourself, notice the guilt, acknowledge it, and return to your truth. Your worth isn't determined by your ability to tolerate what harms you. Consider that choosing peace, even when others wish differently, is valid. Your children learn more from your self-respect than from your self-sacrifice. If you model that your needs matter, that boundaries are healthy, that peace is worth protecting, you teach them they're allowed the same. Your choices ripple forward, creating possibility for those who come after you. The family you needed may not be the family you have, and that grief deserves space. You can mourn what wasn't, while also building what is. Chosen family, community, friendships that feel like home. These are as legitimate as blood relations. There's space for seeking and creating the belonging you need. Sometimes the most radical act is simply being honest about what you can and cannot do. I can't attend is a complete sentence. Your limitations aren't failures. They're information about your current capacity. And honoring them is how you maintain your integrity over time. Your nervous system doesn't understand expectations. It only knows comfortable versus uncomfortable, depleting and restorative. When you try to force yourself into situations your body experiences as distressing, you create internal conflict. Peace comes from alignment, choosing what your system can genuinely hold. The quiet wisdom of your body has guided you here. Every time you chose not to attend, every time you left early, every time you said no, you are listening to something true. Your body has been speaking clearly. The question was only whether you'd trust it enough to listen. Healing isn't always reconciliation. Sometimes healing is acceptance. Accepting your family as they are, accepting your needs as they are, and accepting that these two realities may not easily coexist. That acceptance isn't giving up. It's releasing yourself from an impossible task. You're not alone in this. Millions navigate similar tensions, honoring the truth of what their bodies need, while managing the grief and complexity that choice creates. Your experience is both uniquely yours and universally human. Others understand. You are not strange for needing what you need. The version of yourself that feels most alive, most real, most settled. That's the version worth protecting. If distance from family allows that version to exist, the distance serves life. You're not running away. You're running toward your own wholeness. Trust builds slowly, and perhaps with family, trust will never reach the level that allows easy togetherness. That's okay. Not all relationships are meant for closeness. Some remain important while also remaining distant. Both things can be true without contradiction. Your peace isn't selfish. It's the foundation from which everything else in your life flows. When you're depleted, anxious, and dysregulated, every relationship suffers. When you're centered, rested, and whole, you have so much more to offer the world. Protecting your peace protects your capacity for all other loves. The path forward isn't about becoming strong enough to tolerate what harms you. It's about becoming wise enough to recognize what harms you and honest enough to step away. Strength isn't endurance of suffering. Strength is the courage to honor your truth. Your body's boundaries are trying to protect something valuable. Your sense of self, your well-being, your capacity to remain open-hearted in a hard world. When you honor those boundaries, you honor that valuable thing. You're not being difficult. You're being faithful to your own life. Some seasons require distance. Perhaps one day proximity will feel possible again. Perhaps not. You don't need to decide forever. You need only honor what's true for you now. The future will unfold as it unfolds. For now, this distance is what integrity requires. The loneliness of this choice is real, and it deserves acknowledgement. It's hard to step away from family, even when stepping away is right. You can grieve what you're losing, while also knowing you're gaining something equally important. Yourself, your peace, your ability to breathe freely. When you look back years from now, you'll know you made the choice that honored your deepest truth. You didn't abandon yourself to maintain connection with others. You didn't betray your body's wisdom to fulfill external expectations. You chose yourself. That choice was an act of profound love. Your worth was never contingent on your family's approval or presence. You were born worthy, and you remain worthy regardless of how family relationships unfold. Their inability to see you doesn't diminish you. Your value is inherent, unchangeable, independent of any relationship. The people who truly love you will understand your need for distance. Even if they don't fully comprehend it, they'll trust that you know your own experience, your own body, your own needs, and those who can't understand. That reveals their limitations, not yours. Your story isn't over. This chapter involves distance, protection, careful boundary keeping. Future chapters may look different, or they may not. You don't need to know how it ends. You need only walk faithfully through this present moment, honoring what's true right now. The wisdom in your withdrawal is this: you listened when your body spoke. You trusted yourself when the world suggested you shouldn't. You chose wellness over obligation, truth over performance, peace over pretense. That listening, that trust, that choice, it's changed everything. You are not broken. You never were. You are a person whose nervous system learned to protect itself, and who has the courage to honor that protection even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when others don't understand. Your distance from family gatherings isn't failure. It's wisdom. It's self-knowledge. It's love for yourself, and in its own way, for them too. You are exactly where you need to be, and that is enough. And so, our quiet journey through family dynamics and nervous system wisdom comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the Sunday morning dread that starts before the weekend begins, to the exhaustion that lingers for days after gatherings, discovering along the way that your body has been speaking truth all along, from the tightness in your chest to the relief when plans cancel. We've glimpsed how family relationships are both complex and simple, demanding and essential to understand through the lens of what your unique system needs. Family reminds us that love takes many forms, and proximity isn't the only shape it can hold. Much of the profound work of understanding yourself happens in silence, in distance, in the space between what others expect and what you genuinely need. Your nervous system's wisdom reveals patience, self-knowledge, fierce protection. Without listening to your body's truth, you cannot remain whole. By pausing to notice what you actually feel rather than what you think you should feel, you glimpse the extraordinary courage it takes to choose yourself. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. As deep as possible, think about consciousness itself. Yours, mine, everyone listening. All the nervous systems trying to find peace in complicated families. You are not alone in the universe of minds. Perhaps all of us seeking understanding are connected in ways we don't yet fully grasp. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought, where you are simply awareness, simply breath, simply here. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. If this thoughtful exploration of family dynamics helped you feel less alone tonight, a gentle subscribe or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more seekers to discover this sanctuary, one sleepy soul at a time. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, through territory that required courage to even acknowledge. You can allow these thoughts of family, nervous systems, and boundaries to fade now, like morning fog lifting from a quiet lake, leaving only the peaceful calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if the earth itself is gently pulling you down into comfort. If sleep comes, let it carry you like a soft current in a warm river, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where family complications dissolve and only rest remains. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting, ready to continue this journey of understanding. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels comfortable and warm. Tomorrow, your family will still be who they are. Your nervous system will still know what it knows. But tonight belongs to stillness, to the part of you that doesn't have to explain, defend, or justify anything. Rest well, gentle soul. And remember, choosing distance when closeness harms you isn't failure. It's wisdom. It's your body loving you enough to tell the truth. Fall asleep to gentle facts, where psychology meets sleep. Dream deeper with bedtime science. Relax, listen, and drift into peace. Good night.